With Ghost of Tsushima now being out for nearly 4 years, and the sequel being believed to be in development at Sucker Punch, with the potential for us to get it as early as next year, there's understandably lots of excitement around the IP right now. But if there's one thing I'm really wishing for above all else in this sequel, is to see Jin Sakai as the protagonist again. We have no idea if this supposed sequel will continue Jin's story or follow a completely new character. And while I don't think Jin necessarily needs a sequel, the ending to Ghost of Tsushima was very satisfying and is perfectly fine as the ending to Jin's story. However, I think he certainly deserves a sequel, and I think the potential of his story in a sequel far outweighs the idea of abandoning him and following a new character. Now, I am going to discuss spoilers for the end of Ghost of Tsushima here. I know a lot of people have started playing the game for the first time since it was just released on PC, so if you don't wish to be spoiled, there's a warning. Maybe you can come back to the video once you finish the game if you'd like. But despite Jin's character arc in Ghost of Tsushima being fulfilled and having a satisfying conclusion, there is still so much more they can explore with him. Ghost of Tsushima is really more the origin story of the Ghost. We see Jin start as a samurai, break his uncle's code of honor, and adapt into something brutal, dark, and terrifying to the Mongols in becoming the Ghost. However, Jin has not fully embraced and become the Ghost really until the end, once he finally lets go of his uncle, regardless of which ending you chose. Throughout the game, he is becoming the Ghost, he's learning all these new techniques, he's building his legend and status amongst the island of Tsushima, and by the end, he's finally cut all the ties to his old life. So now that he's really embraced being the Ghost, I think that's what really makes me want to see where that story would pick up and lead in the next game. This time around, we'd already be starting as this more mature, developed, skilled version of Jin, and if Ghost of Tsushima is the Ghost's origin story, then it would only make sense to have a follow-up where we start the game as the Ghost and remain that way throughout the entirety of it. That doesn't mean Jin can't still have an arc and develop even more, but it would just be a different type of story that doesn't completely revolve around honor. Because Jin has no honor, and he's fully embraced that now. And I think it's very clear that were there to be a Jin sequel, it wouldn't take place on the island of Tsushima. Khotun Khan is defeated, and the Mongols there are all but wiped out. However, the Mongol invasion is still going on strong in other regions of Japan. And with Tsushima safe, it'd make perfect sense for the Ghost to pursue the Mongols and spread his legend throughout other regions. We already got a glimpse of this in the Iki Island DLC. So whatever the sequel may be called, I highly doubt it'll be Ghost of Tsushima 2, but they could just change the name to fit whatever prefecture Jin travels to next. So, Ghost of blank. I think that would be the smartest way to go about the title. I think a sequel also presents a very strong opportunity for Jin to meet a bunch of new characters. He's still a fugitive from the Shogun, so that dynamic could be very interesting. And there are other characters and dynamics who Jin had built a bond with in the first game that could continue to be fleshed out, like with Yuna. I think the only complicated part they would have to figure out is how they decide to work around the ending of the first game. Because there are 2 endings, and Sucker Punch never declared one as canon. And I don't think they necessarily need to make one canon for the sequel. Regardless of if you chose to kill or spare Lord Shimura, you would have no place in the sequel even if he were alive. And with Jin likely going somewhere else, there's no need to really focus too much on Shimura. And I think both endings still fit Jin's character, so unless they have a scene in the sequel where Jin talks about what happened to his uncle, then I don't think they need to declare one canon in order for the story to work. Because I think either way, after Ghost of Tsushima's ending, Jin is fully the Ghost now, whether you choose to honor Shimura's wish for death or not. I think it would be such a shame and a waste to abandon Jin's story now that people have had an entire game to become invested in his character. I think it would give a huge advantage to the sequel, where majority of the audience already really cares about the main character from the opening scene, because we got his origin story previously. So I'd love to see this sequel follow Jin as we start as this badass ghost, and I'd be very curious to see how they further develop him now that he's finally let go of being a samurai and he's essentially now on his own. There was a very interesting scene at the end of the first game between Jin and Yuna, where Yuna's talking about how she's lost everyone, and though she cares for Jin, he's a ghost, he belongs to everyone. And I think that idea and theme that Jin has actually almost become like a ghost in a literal sense, who's alone and chosen to sacrifice the humanity in him and those connections to become that symbol, is a very interesting theme that I'd like to see be expanded upon in a potential sequel. So maybe like Yuna, maybe Kenji would go with him wherever he travels, or maybe not because he feels he must be alone. I don't know, but regardless, he has no family left. In fact, not only do I think he deserves a sequel, but I'd really like to see his story be a trilogy. Having a trilogy of the same protagonist can be quite a rarity in a lot of big story games these days, but I think if any character is deserving of it, it's Jin. It could be the Ghost of Whatever Location trilogy. Having 3 games to flesh out an already very beloved protagonist would be awesome, and I'm sure Daisuke Tsuji, the voice actor, would be more than down for that. Maybe there could even be a significant time skip from the first game to the sequel. In fact, that's probably pretty likely, which I think would work very well. But what do you guys think? Do you want to see Jin Sakai return as the ghost in the sequel? And where do you think the game could take place? And what kind of character progression would you like to see from Jin now that he's become fully dishonored and embraced the ghost? If you guys enjoyed the video, as always, I'd appreciate it if you left a like and consider subscribing to the channel if you're new. Hopefully this sequel gets announced soon. I cannot wait. But other than that, thank you for watching and have a great rest of your day, everyone.